Alrighty guys, welcome back to another one. In today's video we're doing a really oddball of a shell. This is 28 gauge but a 3-inch shell. They're still relatively uncommon, but they are gaining popularity quick. This has 1 1/16 ounce of number 6 shot at 1200 FPS, and we have nickel plated shot. It's worded weird though, it says nickel plated lead shots. They don't need the extra S on the end of that. But anyway, we do have a pheasant on it. The box does look cool. It's supposed to be gold, but really it's just yellow. We have Fiocchi's logo in the background. And these are a lot more than that right there now. Fiocchi's golden pheasant line has been around for quite a while, and they are some pretty good shells. Not a ton of money, but they are kind of a higher dollar shell. The left side of the box is warnings in what looks to be just Italian, maybe some other language, I'm not sure. But the back of it is our English warnings. And the right side of it is more warnings. Yay! Bottom of it is absolutely nothing. So, I mean, overall, the box does look okay. It gives the impression of a higher dollar shell, but still, these are nothing special. They're not premium, very high dollar, fancy. No, these are just a little bit higher dollar than regular target loads, things like that. About equivalent to Winchester's, what do they call those? They're super pheasants, I believe. Oh yeah, today's snooze and drink combo is General Voyage Sicily. This is bitter orange, herbs, and limoncello, or limoncello. I don't know how to pronounce that word. It's not bad. And then Dr. Pepper, zero sugar, strawberries and cream. Anyway, the shell looks like this. It does have a 16mm high brass plated steel head on it, with, of course, a Fiocchi primer, and the head stamp does just say Fiocchi 28 Italy. I hope you guys can see this well, because on my phone screen right now, this just looks very, very dark. It is super bright outside right now, but anyway, these are done up with a fold crimp. Not bad at all, looks pretty good to me. And the shell does say Golden Pheasant 1200 FPS 76mm, which would be 3 inches, 1 1/16 ounce of 6 shot. And that's all it says. Looks alright to me. If this is your first time ever seeing or hearing about a 3-inch 28 gauge shell, I think it came about in 2013, so 11 years ago. However, in the last 2, let's call it 3 years, the 3-inch 28 gauge has been taking off. I believe it was only last year or late 2022 that it got its official SAMI recognition, designation, whatever. And I believe these are rated at the exact same pressure as 3.5-inch 12 gauge, so 14,000 PSI. That is not bad. Now, 2 3/4-inch 28 gauge with TSS, I have seen shells with up to 1 5/8 ounces of shot in them. As of right now, August 2024, there are no 3-inch 28 gauge non-toxic wads on the market, so it's hard to really get more than 1 5/8 of TSS in a 28 gauge, I believe, at the moment anyway. But whenever a 3-inch non-tox wad becomes available, we can probably get up to 1 3/4, 1 7/8. With lead, the highest amount of shot I've seen so far is actually from Winchester. They do have a 1 1/8 ounce 28 gauge 3-inch shell that it's loaded to 1200 FPS. So it is giving a 16 gauge and a 12 gauge a run for its money. Run for their money, I should say. But guys, let's stop yapping and open one of these up. This should be pretty interesting. As far as I know, these do just have a regular 2 3/4-inch wad in them. Okay, so we don't quite have the advertised 1 1/16 ounce payload. We have just below that. 1 1/16 would be about 1.06. This is 1.03, but guys, it's close enough. It's still over an ounce, but not by many pellets at all. Would you actually see a difference on paper? No. Between the 1 ounce and 1.03? No, not really. Winchester has been offering a 1 ounce 28 gauge load in 2 3/4 inch for decades, And those are listed at 1205 FPS. This has just, let's call it 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 more pellets. And it's going, advertised anyway, 5 FPS lower. This is just a 1 ounce load stuffed in a 3-inch shell. The HV 28 gauge Magnum wad would have been the choice to use for a 1 1/16 ounce load. This is just a regular 2 3/4 inch wad. This is the SG 28-2, and that little bit taller gas section is what allows this to be put in a 3-inch and crimped with a folded crimp. If this whole thing right here wasn't 2 3/4 inch, well, then stack height would be a little bit too tall for a fold, but of course you could still roll it. The HV 28 gauge Magnum wad, which does not have the ladder section right here, imagine this wad without that, that can do 1 ounce loads in 2 3/4 inch, and you can still have plenty of room to fold it. Anyway, what I was getting at is it looks like they just used this wad specifically so they could put a 1 ounce shot charge in this thing with a 3-inch shell, just to call it a 1 1/16. I don't know. Anyway, the shot itself does look pretty nice. Again, this being an Italian shell, you would expect really nice components, and well, this does have that. Let's take a better look at the shot. And of course, it's all nice and shiny, uniform size, no deformities, nothing ugly at all or out of place. That is some really, really good shot. The Italians, once again, know what they're doing. And for a charge, we have 26. It was 26 before the wind caught it anyway. Of a powder that looks like it's a cylinder that has been cut into discs. I don't know. I guess you could kind of say it looks like BD powder, if you know what I'm talking about, without the blue flakes in it. Yeah. Obviously, it's not that powder, though. This was too high of a grain charge for that to be that powder. This is a slower powder anyway. I guess let's slap this back together after I show you the haul. I forgot to do that. It's probably going to be impossible to see, but this does have a flat, low base wad, straight wall shell, Fiocchi primer in there. Nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary to see there. But now let's slap it back together and see what it looks like. Well, I hit it with the gut being 4, no press at all. And guys, honestly, it looks pretty bad. Hope you can see it. Yeah, maybe I should have used like a pre-crimp or something with that one right there. Sometimes I just pinch the crimp in with my fingers and then hit it with a crimp finisher. It don't always work, and this time it obviously didn't. I'll fix it later. But anyway, there's been a breakdown on Fiocchi's Golden Pheasant 3-inch 28 gauge, 1 1/16 ounce advertised, 1200 FPS, number 6 shot. Pretty interesting, even though it wasn't a true 1 1/16 ounce load here. Oh well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.